this is Jeff. This is an After Effects demo that picks up from where we made graphics in Illustrator and imported them into After Effects. And this is a continuation of the dots graphics that I made in Illustrator. I will be continuing a series of demonstration on these dots to my completed version of them. So this is kind of going to be a way that you can follow a through line through some of the technical demos. Hopefully you'll understand when you see them all together. So the first thing that I have done here is I have imported my dots from Illustrator, and you can see that they're here in a composition, and you can see that here are the layers that my dots have been divided into. And I've also imported my song that I'm going to be working with, which is What Moves by L.A. Priest. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start by creating a new composition. And I'm going to call this my master comp. I've made the duration about 1 minute. I may expand it a little bit as this demo goes, but right now my duration is 1 minute. And the preset is the standard HDTV. So this should be good, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So now I have a, where'd it go? The master comp right here. And so what I can do is I can bring into that, no, I'm just going to hold on to that and I'll come back to it. So I'm going to go back to dots and I'm going to open up that composition. In this composition, you can see that I've got a series of dots here and that they are layer separated. They already have these elements going down. Now, even though I tried to make them look good in Illustrator, I kind of don't like how I have some little edges here, so I still can move them around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these layers. And remember, if you select all these layers, you can open up shortcuts. I'm going to select P for position, and I'm going to just move them all up a little bit. Looks like I still can't eliminate those little edges, so I'm going to press S for scale. And that's going to make them, you know, all at 100%. So I'm going to just make them a little bit bigger. So I don't have this thing, I don't have like edges showing right away. Of course, I can kind of rearrange this later, but I think that's a pretty good thing to do. So what I want to do is I want to get these dots a-moving like I have in my mind. So one of the first things that I can do, you know, my idea is that these dots are going to move to the beat of the music. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is bring in this MP3 file for What Moves. I'm going to drag this down here. And so now this is going to have audio. So I'm going to press. Okay, that's working. So now what I want to do is I want to look at this audio and I want to start setting up some keyframes that are going with the beat, because this is a graphic that I wanted to go to the beat. So this is a manual way, and we can look at an advanced way that's automatic. My warning is that it is advanced. At any rate, so let's do it the manual way. So first let's open up the audio and then open it up again. And in there you'll see waveforms. Waveforms basically are going to be these graphics that allow you to kind of see the visual. It's a kind of visual music. It's a representation of the sound. And so you can see that the spikes there correspond with the drum beat, and that's kind of what I want. So what I want to do is I'm going to try and just create a way to put keyframes that match with these particular beats. And I believe this, let me hear it one more time. I believe this is where I want it to be. Yeah. So I'm going to kind of start right here. And you can feel that as you zoom in, and you can move this zoom in, your the current frame time indicator, which is this little blue deal, is going to kind of snap. And so it's not going to be able to be 100% perfect because this is snapping to the number of frames. So you may not hit exactly the peak, but I think what you'll do is you'll end up getting pretty close. All right, so what I want to do is actually I want to just propagate this with a bunch of keyframes. I can delete them, but I think the first thing to do is just have them. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Now that I've got this kind of lined up with where the beat is, I'm going to select again all of my visual layers. And I know that I'm going to play with positioning, so I'm going to go press P for position, and I'm going to set up keyframes on the beat for all of these on position, so I can kind of have them move along with the position. So it's at near the peak. It's the closest to the peak that I can reach with these particular frames. And I'm just going to go ahead and press the stopwatch, and that's going to create keyframes on all of them. And it's as simple as moving this over. Actually, I'm going to, it looks like everything's getting a little early. I'm going to back up. I think I'm going to have them go kind of a little bit after the beat. So let's try that again. So here, I do keyframes. There's another set of keyframes. And now I don't, again, do the stopwatch. I just go ahead and add keyframes. And what I'm doing is I'm just, of course, adding keyframes to every... There may be some variation here. We'll see how this turns out. I'm just adding keyframes. And keyframes. And keyframes. Etc. And one thing you can do to make sure that you have a consistent rhythm, especially you have to make judgment calls, is just kind of go hop between your keyframes and look at this counter right here. So I believe it's about 1 second and 12 frames, but let's hop back and forth. So that should be 27, so that's 20, oh, so it's more like 16. So anyway, so as long as they're consistent, I think you're in good shape. Now, that's going to take a long time. So another way that you can, if you're kind of hitting your marks and you're making sure you're on the beat, I can go ahead and select, I've deselected all the groups, and now I'm just working on one layer. And now I've selected all of these keyframes. So I've selected all of these keyframes and Command-C copy. When I paste the keyframes, it'll paste the keyframe wherever the current time indicator is. So if I just Command-V, paste, and zoom out a little bit, you'll see that it pasted it right where that current time indicator is. And so this is a good way that you can actually scale this up. I'm going to Command-C now copy all of those, which I've done, which is now twice as many as I've made by hand. I can hop forward to the last keyframe, and if I Command-V paste, it's going to paste it right where that other keyframe was, basically keeping the rhythm. So this is one way that you can just create really consistent manual keyframes to go with the rhythm. I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and then I'll pick up with animating them in the next video.